I stood barefoot on my dock, the morning mist curling over Serenity Lake, clutching a steaming mug of coffee when a stranger in a garish Hawaiian shirt ambled up and asked what time the paddleboard parade kicked off. Behind him, a gaggle of nearly 24 tourists in neon tees, flip-flops, and oversized sun hats swarmed my property. They snapped selfies with my fishing rods, sprawled yoga mats across my deck chairs, and one image I'll never unsee: a woman was rinsing her baby's diaper in my lake. My grip tightened on the mug, molars grinding so hard I thought they'd crack. This wasn't a resort. This wasn't a public park. This was my home, my sanctuary, yet these invaders acted like they'd bought VIP passes. It didn't take long to spot the ringleader. Her name was Miranda, and she was waving from the end of my private bridge like she was hosting a gala at a coastal estate. That was the moment I knew she'd thrown down a gauntlet. She just didn't realize I controlled the bridge, and soon I'd control the war. My name is Ethan Caldwell, and for the past 11 years, I've lived at the edge of Serenity Lake, a hidden gem nestled deep in the hills, accessible only by a narrow, private bridge my grandfather built with his own hands before the county even had a name. I inherited the house and the bridge's rights after my father passed, and I've kept the place pristine, a haven of solitude. The bridge isn't just a path, it's a gatekeeper. Without it, my property is unreachable except by boat or chopper, perfect for a guy like me, a security systems engineer who works remotely and craves the call of loons over the drone of leaf blowers or midnight karaoke. That piece shattered the day Miranda bought the house across the lake. At first, it was small annoyances. She'd wave from her balcony with the enthusiasm of a talk show host, as if we were old pals instead of strangers. Then came the flyers, plastered on community mailboxes, advertising exclusive lakeside yoga retreats and Miranda's scenic tours, complete with photos that looked suspiciously like my backyard. I thought it was irritating but harmless. I was wrong. Dead wrong. 2 weeks before the tourist invasion, I noticed unfamiliar cars clogging the lake's entrance, not unusual in summer, but odd for our quiet road. Then came the drone, buzzing over my boathouse during a Zoom call, snapping photos or video before darting back to Miranda's side like a scolded pet. I didn't connect the dots until the Bus Ayurveda full-size tour shuttle, the kind that hauls retirees through vineyard country. It dumped 30 strangers at the foot of my bridge on a Sunday morning. I'd installed a code lock on the bridge's control panel, but I hadn't disabled the manual crank, a failsafe for power outages. Miranda must have studied it like a heist planner because she bypassed the lock and lowered the bridge herself, ushering her flock across like she owned the place. I stepped outside to find a kid grinding his skateboard into my rose bushes, a woman asking if my retriever, Moose, was available for photos, and Miranda herself, in a wide-brimmed hat, sipping a mimosa on my dock. "Relax, Ethan," she said, smirking. "They're just here for the vibe. Your place is way more Instagrammable than mine." I told her this was my home, not a photo op. She shrugged and said, "That's what makes it authentic." When they finally left after I marched a few toward the bridge myself, I spent the evening checking locks, cameras, and boundary markers. Every property line was legal, every deed airtight. The bridge was private infrastructure, maintained solely by my family. There was no loophole. Miranda had broken in and brought a circus with her. I tried reasoning with her the next day, expecting an apology. Instead, she doubled down, accusing me of hoarding nature and saying I should be flattered to be her star attraction. I recorded every word. That night, I went full engineer mode. Trail cameras, a reinforced gate panel, and a remote control system for the bridge, complete with a solar-powered motor I could operate from my phone. I wasn't just stopping her, I was setting a trap. Days later, she struck again. Her guests spread across my lawn like they owned it, and Miranda strutted onto my deck like she was hosting a garden party. I waited until she was mid-speech, then hit the button. The bridge groaned, lifted, and retracted toward my side. Her face priceless. Shock, a gasp, then a shriek. "You can't do that." But I had. Her guests panicked, some thinking it was part of the experience, others yelling across the lake, wondering how they'd get back to their cars. Miranda called me a lunatic. I told her trespassing was a crime and she'd better start swimming. She didn't. Of course she raged, cursed, and called the sheriff. When the deputies arrived by boat, I handed them lemonade, the property deeds, and footage of Miranda's stunts. They chuckled, told her to stop hosting illegal events, and left her to ferry her guests back across the lake in shame. That wasn't enough. I wanted control, not just a win. My grandfather's bridge, built with cedar beams and concrete anchors, was sturdy but lacked modern tech. I ordered industrial actuators, a solar backup system, and high-res cameras with motion alerts. My workshop became a tech lab, circuits soldered, commands coded, the bridge transformed into a remote-controlled fortress. I even hid a speaker under the gate, loaded with sarcastic warnings like, "Welcome to Not Your Land." While inspecting the crank lever, I found a GoPro tucked in the bushes, its footage revealing Miranda giving tours of my lakeside experience zone, calling my bedroom balcony a selfie hotspot. She wasn't just trespassing, she was selling access to my home. Her website offered tiered lake tours, the premium package featuring brunch on a scenic dock. My dog. It was fraud, plain and simple. I compiled everything: screenshots, footage, incident logs, and sent it to my lawyer, who replied, "She's done." But I wasn't. I tested the bridge's new system with trusted friends, watching it retract flawlessly, the gate locking with a satisfying clunk. When Miranda tried again the next weekend, I let her guests scatter across my property before hitting the button. The bridge pulled back, tourists screamed, and Miranda's cool facade crumbled. I stepped out, Moose at my side, and said, "You've lied, misled people, and committed fraud. This ends now." One tourist applauded. Another flashed an email confirming they'd paid $40 for Miranda's scam. Stranded for an hour, they waited for a fisherman to ferry them back, the sheriff taking notes as a tourist filed a complaint. I added a light strip to the bridge for locked, green for open. No more excuses. The story went viral. Local Facebook groups and Reddit threads dubbed it Miranda versus Bridgebot. Clips of her pacing as her guests were rowed away spread like wildfire. She fought back, calling an HOA meeting to spin her tale of community access. I attended, USB drive in hand, and played footage of her trespassing, lying, and selling fake tours. The room erupted. Neighbors called her out. The HOA president demanded answers, and Miranda fled in silence. A news crew covered the bridge battle, painting me as a savvy homeowner outsmarting a scheming neighbor. Then someone, likely a kid she'd roped in, threw a rock at my gate. I doubled security, more cameras, locks, even a motion-triggered sprinkler. Miranda's silence didn't last. At 2 a.m., my cameras caught her tampering with the bridge's panel, crowbar in hand. I locked the system remotely and blared a warning through the speaker. She fled, but not before jamming the gears, leaving the bridge stuck halfway open. Teenagers swarmed it, filming TikToks, turning my fortress into a public stunt. Repairs took days, and I found another hidden camera on my property, aimed at my deck. My lawyer laughed when Miranda filed a countersuit, claiming I was blocking community land. The evidence buried her. A county official, Clara Hensley, confirmed my ownership after a 3-hour survey, dismissing Miranda's claims. Then came the dead fish piled at my gate, a petty, stinking tantrum. I filed another report. Her final move was a glossy pamphlet, the Lakefront Heritage Trail Initiative, claiming my bridge was a historical crossing and forging neighbors' signatures to rezone it as public. It was audacious, almost laughable, but it triggered a county hearing. I rallied neighbors, collected affidavits, and showed up with a hard drive of proof. Miranda's speech about shared beauty fell flat against my maps, footage, and forged petitions. Neighbors tore her apart. Clara declared her proposal fraudulent. Miranda stormed out, defeated. The lake healed. I painted a message on the bridge. "You are not welcome here without honor." Miranda became a shadow, her house silent, her scams exposed. Neighbors apologized for staying quiet, and the HOA shifted focus to transparency. I stood on my bridge one evening, Moose at my side, the lake's calm restored. My grandfather built this bridge to connect, but I'd made it a barrier, one that held firm against lies, arrogance, and chaos. Miranda thought she could rewrite boundaries with charm. I reminded her, and everyone, that some lines can't be crossed.